evening as the gentlemen are chuckling as we get into it. Yes, Zoom, I know this meeting is being recorded. We do this every Monday. I'm used to it now. Good evening, gents, and welcome to it. Ladies as well, if you're joining us live on our YouTube stream, it's a Monday, which means that we have much to munch on as far as what's been happening locally with the football as the league resumed at the weekend. And of course, some big ties were in the mix and some big results for some of the teams involved. I'm not alone. Joining me tonight, I have a panel made up of Kelvin Sosibo. We have Greg Atafia also in the mix. And I just want to check if Tim is still with us. No. I think he had a bit of a technical issue, but you know how it is. He'll hop on in a few moments' time, and then we can get things going. Gents, welcome to the show. Kelvin, you took a break last week to go and bury some bone and, you know, get some Doge and do all of your wheeler dealer FX stuff. Are you rich yet? Are you rich yet? I hear the market is going crazy. Have you made millions?
I don't think I'm rich as yet, but I'm closer to the millions.
You're closer to the millions. Okay. I hope they come for you soon. And then also joining us, we have Greg Atafia, who is just arriving from training, apparently. Greg?
Yeah. Good evening, Kamsa. Yeah, this coaching job, man, is somehow, you have to be the first one there, and the last one. Session. This is our life now. We just have to keep going.
I hear you. Mr. Batabayer is joining us in a moment's time. We're waiting for his camera and his mic to load, and then we'll get the salutations, failing which within the next 5 seconds. If that doesn't happen, I think he's almost here. 3, 2, 1. No, he's not going to join us just yet, but we'll welcome him when he does. Gents, let's start with the DSTV Premiership, of course. We had a lot of stories coming into the weekend about tension that was being felt at Mamelodi Sundowns between the co-coaches. Obviously, after the victory at the weekend, one of those co-coaches came out to pour cool water on those rumors. But what do you make of it? Do you think where there's smoke, there's fire? I mean, one has to assume that when there's so many people kind of working together, you are going to get friction. You are going to get sometimes disagreements. But at the end of the day, if with all of that, they can still romp to a 2-0 victory against the Kaizer Chiefs, how well managed has that been? Calvin Sosibo, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think good evening to the viewers. We welcome them to our channel. I think one of the things that I have to point out with this tension that is going on at Sundowns, I think they show the level of maturity. I think personal issues should stay personal and work issues should stay work issues. And I think in that way, they've managed to navigate forward and make sure that they iron those things out in the field, which was the business of the day, was completed very well. Outside, we don't know how much does the tension still goes on the closed doors. But what we saw on TV, we saw a matured leaders who were on the bench who marshaled the team into victory. And this is what we wanted supporters to see. Even though the media may give us the hints that there's still tension and whatnot, but I don't think a lot of people witnessed that in the game day, which is the result, a reflection of what happened.
No, for sure. I mean, they were still quite dominant and almost, Greg, made it seem like Chiefs weren't there. I mean, Chiefs had a good performance, but as far as the defending is concerned, there'll be concerns there for Stuart Baxter and just how they couldn't have that killer instinct in front of goal.
Yeah, for me, I just feel like, Chiefs has a different Chiefs this season in terms of how they play going forward, with their attacking power. But my only disappointment is Stuart Baxter. We always know him in terms of set piece. Yeah, he's the master of set piece in terms of defensive and attacking. And for him to concede in set piece with the first goal, it's just unbelievable, And I think he's gonna be bringing them this morning and try to show them the tape and how they concede, because it's a standard situation, which I think Kaizer Chiefs could have done better. and you almost have to kind of scoring on the line, basically on the line of the back post. I mean, which you cannot allow Billiard to mark a centre back like a massive centre back like that. So I just think it's a big mistake, and players try to shift responsibility. I don't know who's supposed to mark Kitana, because if you check the Sundowns team, I mean, there is not too many heights there, and the centre back Kitana is one of the players that have height, and I think players like Sedokovic or Mato, we should pick the centre back, which is a normal standard situation. And when they concede that goal, you always know they're going to come out fighting, and that's where you give Sundowns opportunity to get the second goal. I mean, but nevertheless, Chiefs, they show some character, even missing the penalty, which I mean, if they scored that penalty with, I think it was if not 79 minutes of the game, I think it could have been a little bit tense, towards the end of the game. But missing that penalty, I think was home and dry for Sundowns, to win that game.
Yeah, there we go. And joining us is Mr. Timothy Batabayer. Tim, to that point, welcome. Obviously, at the end of the game, you look at the stars on the side of Sundowns, but how important was Dennis Onyango in that victory? Because also, he made some crucial saves that I think earlier, would have changed the momentum. It's a bit difficult, maybe with 10 minutes left, but had that goal gone in that he saved, it could have changed things a lot earlier and put pressure on Sundowns a lot earlier. But it goes to show why he's one of the best on the continent.
Good evening to our listeners and good evening to everyone. The question that you're posing before me is quite, I don't want to compromise myself, but I have to be very professional because we're talking about Dennis Onyango. I think it's the difference between Kaizer Chiefs and Sundowns winning the game. That point save, Craig will tell us that it gave Sundowns the belief that they can win the game. It was a pinpoint save, and in that moment, it's the difference. And then when you talk about goalkeeping in Dennis Onyango, it brings back the question, why is Kaizer Chiefs struggling to find the number one choice as a goalkeeper? Because there are certain positions in football where you don't just think around with it. And that goes for your goalkeeper, it goes for your backline. That is always the core of the team. You don't, because there is an interlink between the goalkeeper, the central defenders, and right backs. So that communication is key. So Kaizer Chiefs, they have to make a decision whether they're going to make Kune their first choice goalkeeper so that he gets used to his backline, or Akpei or Vuma. You cannot tinker in those areas. But we saw glimpses of ball watching in their backline, which is not the kind of tactics you expect from Coach Baxter, as Craig has alluded to that. But back to Dennis Onyango, his presence gives confidence to his whole team that they can, play from the back. They will always have a second chance for the last man standing to prevent that goal from going into the net. And yesterday he proved that, and that gives them the momentum to go forward. So for me, yes, there is a great improvement in this team of Kaizer Chiefs, but Sundowns still believe they are strong contenders for the championship.
Okay, I want to bring Greg in because we're speaking goalkeepers here, Greg. Stuart Baxter came out and said that part of the reasoning for why he went with Bruce and Akpei on the bench was because they just come from international action. So as far as, being ready and being, in a game scenario, obviously that might help their sharpness. Do you go along with that? Does that make sense to you? Or do you use the fresher keeper who's been training with the squad and didn't travel with the national team? How would you have gone for that one? Does it compute as a goalkeeper that, you stay behind and are fresher, but the ones who have been traveling got the spots in the team ahead of you?
Kabza, you have to look at it both ways, in terms of how the distance where they travel, in terms of the international game. But for them to be in the national team, I think, they have one one edge ahead of the other ones that's not in the national team, in terms of Zuma and in terms of Apeyi, and at home, which they've been training. Yeah, but yeah, they know everything about the team because you need to build the team around them because they are the one at home. But if you go for international games, there's one thing that the national team or the country is seeing you, so you have the edge ahead of anyone that stays behind. But depends on where they travel to. But I think it's not an excuse. But by now, I think it's the third game of the season. Excluding the MTN 8 and other competition that Kaizer Chiefs have played. I think by now, Sweet Bastard should know who is his number one. You can call all of them number one, but you have in back of your mind that this, if he's not injured or if he's not lost of form, he's my number one, this is my number two, this is my number three, this is my number four. If apart from the injury, apart from the loss of form, except the goalkeeper go in a drastic, lose drastic form, that's where you can say, okay, let me change and give the other goalkeeper a chance. But by now, I think with Sweet caliber and with his experience, I think you need to have a number one so that the back line, as a team alluded to, the back four will be comfortable and they know that this is our number one. If it's not there, this is number two, apart from injury. But I think by now, we should know in Kaizer Chiefs who is the number one.
I hear you. So let's talk about that because I'm guessing a lot of Kaizer Chiefs fans will look at the back four, Kelvin, and wonder why they're not seeing, more of the newer faces and, this far into the season, or maybe it's not, maybe it's still early days. I don't know. You can chime in here. But I mean, are we seeing a coach who doesn't know his best 11 and maybe seeing things in training that don't convince him that the new guys, are cut out, especially when we talk about that center back pairing for Kaizer Chiefs?
Yeah. We're seeing a glimpse of coach doesn't really know in terms of the first 11 that he needs to put on the field. I'm still surprised that why Ngobo hasn't been given a chance ahead of Dube. My personal feel, I would have started with Ngobo way too early because, defend of the season, that speaks for itself. Having him and testing him with other players would have given us a picture in terms of how Chiefs are planning to move forward. But it seems as if he's still holding on to the guys that he knows, the Mato, the Cardoso that is left at Chiefs. So why refresh the squad if you're not going to use the players that you have bought? So in that,
did he buy those players though? If we're fair, did he have a say? Do you think? I feel like those players will be on the way. It's like he's got there and he's like, okay, I'm going to work with these guys. But clearly, there's a sense or a lack of trust, it would seem.
Not in a lack of trust, because if you take up a team, you're not taking up an empty skeleton. He got in there, he knew those players that are there. So when he took on the contract, exactly, he should plan against that. For those players that are bought, it's players that he's been following. If he's a defender of the season, he's there. What else do you want to know? Because that speaks for itself. So I'm picturing a coach that still hasn't found a proper pairing at the back, but yet he's got it in front of him. The reason why he tried to gamble with the Dube in that position, for me, it was quite challenging to see him tinkering with the central pairing. Would you have kept the same players that understand each other, Mato and Cardoso? Maybe we would have gotten something in terms of the telepathy and also the understanding. But finding a new player coming into the high intense game is Sundowns. Sundowns is already playing against those players because they know each and every player Chiefs their weaknesses and strong points. And how did they find the goal? Over the tallest player at the back, failing to defend, or the marking was poor. So if you're going to be marking zonally or you're going to be going man for man, the last pole is always left unattended to. And Sundowns do know that. If they play it a bit longer, you're losing the personality in terms of height, because once it goes far wide, it's one of the areas that are less monitored because you always think that the ball is going to land in front of us. So now I'm looking at a coach that still needs to reshuffle or trust more in the players that he's got on disposal. They can give him something, but I think them throwing them in batches, it might work, but I think at the back, that's where the problem was. In the middle, okay, we kind of settle. We got the Nange, we've got the Alexander Cole. So I think within that pairing, we're still fine. But where we're struggling most is actually the center pairing. And also on the left, we're still having some problems also. See a look at having a look at Mavaliso. He gave in something. He was more confident on the ball. He lost less balls. He wasn't careless on his attacking. He maintained position, and he gave us something, even though he was thrown into a later dying minutes compared to the player that they started with.
Hey, okay, I hear you. So let's talk about like the confidence, Mr. Batabayer, because you have Ngobo, who's gone from playing week in, week out, being indispensable for the team that he came from. All of a sudden, he gets the dream move, thinking, okay, happy days are here again. We got a top coach who came here and did well with his team. I'm going to be coached by that guy. But then that guy doesn't, have any faith. And, we speak about Dube getting a start. Coach also thinks that he didn't do as well as probably he would have liked, but we're here now. So what is going through young Ngobo's mind? And do you think that the coach is approaching the bedding in or the trial runs for his new signings, especially in defense, in the right way?
Look, my experience tells me that whenever you move to a club as a player, you should recognize that you're going to find the previous players who are already playing in that team. And I always advise those players, if they consult with me, that remember, there's a player who has already got the confidence of the coaches and the fans. So when you're going there, you should not expect to immediately fit into the team. Those are rare cases of players. So when that time of delay comes about, you should still remain very composed and very mature enough to wait patiently, even when it's frustrating, to wait for your chance. Because if you start becoming grumpy, it's gonna distract your focus, and by the time you are selected, you will not be able to prove a point. So you have got the likes of Mato, Cardoso, who have got that history in playing that position in those high build games. So when you come as a new novice coming from the likes of Swallows, and when it comes to the statistics, you may not immediately fit in there. So you are always at a disadvantage. So the coaches will look at those statistics and they will always go with it and test it until such a time when you're given a chance. And once given a chance, you should grab it and never let it. So for me, there are still early times. He was playing at, if you are like at Morocco Swallows, some of these teams, they don't have the billing and the pressure that you have when you're playing for the likes of Pirates, Chiefs, and Sundowns. So when it comes to the selection of players in those hybrid games, those factors come into play. So for now, I have a feeling that they'll gradually get into the team. Yes, they conceded in my opinion, very soft goals. You shouldn't be conceding such goals. And I had the understanding that Baxter had got sort of his tactics right. Having Nokovic playing through the left side and Kamabirit being the leading person, because all their center halves are right-footed. So rightly so, it was more comfortable to put the ball on the right and try to pick out the likes of Nukovic and knock it back, knock it to a dropping, Kamabirian. And as the game progressed, you could see that was a little bit working out. But again, they have not played as a unit. But I can assure you that most teams will suffer, going forward against this Chiefs team. But we are talking about this Sundowns team, where you have got the likes of Tembers Wani on the ball. He gives his teammates, a second or a minute to take a breather when he has got that ball. You have got the likes of Sorino. They are always finding those pockets between the defenders, splitting them up. So for me, that's not how they conceded. They conceded goals from dead ball situations, crosses, me, any central defender will be as good as right back or left back. Once you're allowing those crosses with a poor positioning of central defenders, it means you have become a striker, unlike being a defender. So the striker is always facing the goal, so he has got an advantage against you. So for me, they will need to try and cut out that supply until they get it right.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. The number one for me is a bit confusing because Greg, he is voted by his peers as the best in the league, and still doesn't get a chance. Do you think it is just a case for him to be patient, or do you think there's something else at play if the likes of Dube are getting a start ahead of you? And, for all intents and purposes, can you argue that the two center backs that are in there are better than Noble, who's outside?
For me, Kazza, now at this point now, you can't really make an argument for the two center backs that are playing now because Kaizer Chiefs are losing in terms of their defensive, which is unfortunately. But with him signing to Kaizer Chiefs, I think if you go back for last season, Kaizer Chiefs, were banned not to sign immediately when they have that opportunity to sign players this season. They were in a rush to sign a lot of players. Not knowing they're going to be change of coaches or change of coach, and through it, I think the signing of Noble, he was already on the line. Clancy, was under Gavin Hunt. They were talking to a lot of players, and the players already they're going to go to Kaizer Chiefs. You have the Gabardine situation that later on Basta said that no. I'm not gonna play with this player because I feel like he's gonna suit my style. But I think with the center back situation for now, I think you need to get a chance because the season is early now. You better make a mistake, better playing for him to make a mistake and for you to know where you stand with your depth in the team. Because right now, Kaizer Chiefs doesn't look like they have depth in the center back position or in the left back or in the right back because you haven't tested. A lot of players, a lot of signings with the best defenders of the season. For him to be a best defender of the season, I mean, there's something important about the player. There's something good about the player, and there's something good that he has done for him to be the best defender. You can't just wake up and give him best defender, And I think at this point now, he deserves a chance. But when is the chance coming? I don't know when Basta is going to give him a chance, but he must stay ready because as a professional, you stand in a team, you have to stay ready at training session. When you're at home, you need to stay ready because anytime you will be called upon, because everyone is rooting for him to play now. So everyone wants to see the good of him. So when his time comes, he needs to show everyone. You don't need to disappoint anybody. But I know he's a very good player. He's comfortable with the ball. The one good thing about him, he doesn't kick the ball. He always likes to play from the back, and which right now is not the strength of Kaizer Chiefs centre back.
Okay, we're going to carry on with the chat. I just want to do a quick roll call and say big ups to everybody who's tuned in. Eric Edits, what's up? Vusi Makamu says, as a Kosi fan, I personally feel happy losing the game playing like we played yesterday. I'm not sure if that's going to be because it forces the coach into making a decision and changing up his team. Good evening to Nomone Dondolo joining us as well. And we've got also Somila Landu joining us. Lulama is in the discussion. So thank you to everybody who's joining. We're going to pick up on some of your points in a moment. But, a point being made, Kelvin, that Cardozo and Madoho didn't work last year. So as a coach coming into the team, maybe he would have looked at those games and maybe looked at Ngobo as well. So, for a lot of people who are thinking, okay, but it's not like these guys only became bad now or not as good as we'd like them to be or the quality for Kaizer Chiefs team. So the delay, it's like, you see Varane, he got bored. He's playing. Yeah. You got the best defender from last season ahead of teams like Pirates, Sundowns, Chiefs, and he can't get a look in. So, I mean, patience is one thing, but, being practical, maybe that doesn't make sense. I mean, you've got literally an elite center back on the bench, but you're okay with losing 2-0.
True. Yes. Same point. As I said, being a defender of the season means something. The guy has been included also in the national team ahead of Cardoso and Mato. Still, you're on the bench, even though he hasn't been given a chance for the national team. But again, it says a lot. Given the few minutes that he played, you could tell that a player is a multifunctional player because he played more as a holding midfielder when he got him. So what does it say? Again, you can always try and gamble and play him a little bit upper, so then he can be a screener for the two at the back. which is to protect Matoho and Cardoso. So in that sense, it gives you a variety if you want to try and push him up because he's more technically gifted. He's got good technique, got vision, can pass the ball, and reads the game very well. So put him in a more advanced position if you don't want to risk at the back because you trust those two, because maybe you have worked with them before. But this one, maybe you're just not too confident on him to play him. But when given a chance, he got in those few minutes that he was given a run, and then he delivered. And everybody could see that this is the player that we kept on the bench and was a player of the season. He's given us something in the middle. Even though we still have your Cole Alexander, we still have your Nange, it still showed that the guy is high quality. So why don't we give him a chance also to prove himself? Ahead of Dube, I will play Ngobo on that position. I hear Greg saying Chiefs is not a team that wants to start at the back. But if you're a team that plays on transition, you cannot just get the ball and kick it up. So what you do is you start building up from the back and the team will press you. Once they press, this is when now you're going to have an allowance of your Nokovic running into spaces. You have the Billiards running into spaces. You have players coming short to receive. You see the activation of the Nanges, the Cole Alexander, interchanging of passes, overloading one side to free the other side so then they can attack in both ways. But if you are playing in a transition football and then you are failing to start at the back, which team are you going to catch on transition? Because as I said, that those three gentlemen understand Stuart Baxter. And one thing that we have to really understand is that it's not the same quality of players that Stuart Baxter had to exercise this transition football. Now he needs to rebuild a team that has to understand, because technically and tactically, they are not as sound as the team that he coached before he left.
Okay, well, there we go. There's also the interesting use, Greg, of Samir Nukovic. Not as central as he probably would have liked, but, some looking at that as a tactic and giving Stuart Baxter, a bit of praise from putting him out there on the flank and having Kama play a bit more centrally. What did you make of that experiment? And, obviously looking at the result, you'd say it didn't work because it couldn't get on the score sheet. But do you think maybe there's some promise, there's some potential in utilizing him like that? Or do you think he's better suited down the middle?
For me, I think it's better suited down in the middle because, when you play against Sundowns, if you have the likes of Deruk and Kekana playing centre back, I think, you're going to put your money on Nokovic in terms of, try to bully them down the line in the centre back, try to play off his back. He can play, Billet can play off him because you put him on the side. I think with Sundowns, the way they play, it's hard for you to get the ball. So he's not going to be useful, and he's not a player that we chase a left back or a right back, to try to win the ball back. So I think it's more suited, in terms of playing as a central striker, in terms of the team they're playing at the weekend, which was Sundowns. So I just feel like he was actually frustrated during the game, because Jali was basically, put him in his pocket because Jali was, trying to play on his mind, and which he fall into the trap, and when Nokovic gets angry in a game like that, you're not going to see him play again, and you need his strength in terms of the area ball, the set piece. There's one good chance he missed, I think in the first half, but I just think that is his strength, and if you take him out of that, danger zone, because, you have that, the 18-yard box, that's where you need Nokovic to be around, with his height, with his strength, with his power, that's where he can cause more havoc. When you're taking him out of that, in that kitchen, as we always, we have one of our colleagues always say that the kitchen is that's where it's very hot for you to, make sure you score goals. So for him to go away from the kitchen, I just feel like, he's not useful. And the way Chiefs were playing that day, the crosses, Sundowns, they read them very well. They closed Clancy, and they didn't allow Clancy, because Clancy basically is the only one that can put quality crosses. He had 2 in the first half, and that was all, that was all. There was no ball coming into Sundowns box often, So I think Nokovic on that day, I think, they could have been substituted earlier, because he was not effective in that game, because I think Jali did very good job on him that day.
Okay, well, there you go. An interesting perspective there from Greg Etafia. Joining us now, we've got one of you who follow us so closely in Siyabonga Khumalo, who joins us on our Zoom meeting to discuss Kaizer Chiefs. Welcome, Sia. Thanks for joining us. What do you make of your team? What do you make of your team so far this season?
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you. It's I don't know. Personally, I think the coach has got something against the defender of the season. He was actually supposed to automatically be in that starting 11. I think when he writes his team sheet, the Fungobo needs to be there. So it's just bad. I don't understand.
What do you think is happening? Why am like? Do you think maybe,
as Calvin said, maybe he sees something different than Jimmy that we don't know? Because it's sad to keep losing like that when you have a top quality defender who apparently he's saying that he's slowly trying to make him fit in the Kaizer Chiefs. I truly don't understand that. And also not having a number one goalkeeper is also a problem because we keep changing goalkeepers every week. And yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Who's your number one in your mind? Who should be your number one keeper at Chiefs?
I think Akpe. I think Akpe should be the number one keeper. My number two, or give it to Peterson. Kune. I'm just not sure anymore about Kune.
You think he was transitioning to becoming a club ambassador? Do you think his best days are behind him? Why are you laughing, Kelvin? That's a real job,
the new role now. He must just consider being a club ambassador and just help the boys.
Tim, what do you think?
Majority as people come.
Look, it's very interesting. In my opinion, I beg to differ from anyone, but Kune is still the number one Kaizer Chiefs goalkeeper, and then you have in my opinion. And, when Kune Akpe are in goal, the body language of the defenders and the whole team changes. Absolute belief and confidence from the body language of the players. That will go a long way in getting Kaizer Chiefs to play the way they are playing. For example, the first goal, we can talk about defenders, but I can guarantee you that was a ball high up and it was landing almost on the 6. On the 6 in the box, in the 18-yard box.
Yeah.
An experienced goalkeeper in the likes of Kune Akpe, they would have come to correct that ball. It wasn't. And they conceded on the near post. Craig is the goalkeeper coach. He'll be able to tell us about that. If that header went on the far post, I will understand. But you cannot concede on the near post and you're blaming a defender. It is far-fetched. The fact of the matter, the opponent that Kekana headed the ball ahead of the defender does not make the defender to have positioned himself poorly. So much goes into that. We are looking at the crosses. All those things come into play. So the defender, yes, he was in the wrong position because he was ball watching. The moment, that's a dead ball situation. You should position yourself on the D and attack the ball. You should not be found back pedaling to head the ball.
Sorry to come in there. Sorry, I think it wasn't. If I can remember very well, I think it was Billiard. If I'm not mistaken, I stand to be corrected. I think if it was Billiard, on the far post there, and Kekana is the one. As I said earlier on, it's either Nokovic or Cardoso or Motou. One of the centre backs could have been, could have marked Kekana.
It was Dube who was marking him, Greg. It was Dube marking Kekana.
Yeah. So Dube just come into the team. I don't know whether it's one of the best header in the team, but I'm saying if you have Nokovic there, if you have Motu or Cardoso, I think one of them, should have taken responsibility. In terms of Kekana coming all the way, Nokovic must be there with him because Nokovic is a striker and a centre back. Normally, that's what happened in the game. So I think Nokovic should have been.
No,
for me,
no, I
for me,
disagree
Craig,
a little bit.
for me, it's quite basic because if you look at the Kaizer Chiefs team, you've got very able-bodied players that are tall and huge. So when it comes to a dead ball situation like that, I don't expect the likes of Kama Biriat and Dube to be coming back. Or I expect Mama Kamebule, if he's going to come back, he's going to be on the D because there's no way playing on such a far side. So for me, what is important is the lining up of the back line was poor. Because in such a situation, you need to get those big, the central defenders, the big boys, Nukovic, the likes of Mato, one to be in the center, one to be at the back, and one to be on the near post. Those are the dangerous areas that you have to challenge because when they bring in an in-swinger, an incoming player can head it. You need to cut that out. Then on the far post, when you put the likes of Nukovic on the far post, you give him the opportunity to come from the last position to attack the ball. Because at that moment, it was a dead ball situation. It was a dead ball situation that was moved and wiped in. So if they were able to move the ball and then they stop it and then they cross it, that reaction to prevent the cross is what lacked. And then at the end, at the back post, I think the positioning of the defender was poor. But again, less is said of the positioning of the goalkeeper.
Just to add in that, I think the most important detail that we should highlight here is when it's an outswinger, the positioning changes. It's either you mark zonally or you go for man for man. But the direction of play gives you an indication. We have seen before the Libusa will always occupy the last pole if it's an outswinger. So therefore, if you will put bodies and taller players right at the far end, then you still cannot deal with the outswinger because an outswinger is no threat with compared to an in-swinger because you are dealing with the first post attack. So therefore, if the understanding or the planning or the analyzation of Sundowns from Chiefs side, they should have picked up that this is what Sundowns have specialties on because they will put on the Lila K for the in-swingers. Or if it's on the outswingers, they will always have bodies rushing into the box. It's difficult as defenders, Tim will attest. It's difficult to defend players that are already in motion, attacking the goal. Then when you are set up in a position, marking in a zonal space. So the pressing down and the closing down, it allows the keeper to clean up everything that will be a mess from there. Because if it's an outswinger, they can always attack the ball. But when it's an in-swinger, it's difficult because it's a ball that is curling in. Outswinger gives you time to attack and clear.
Okay. I liked how you said it just now. You said attack. I preferred that. You were like, attack. I like that, Kelvin. See, very quickly before we let you go, around Ngoboge, if he's the first name on the team sheet, who are the other three in the back? Who's in front of him playing screener? Let's hear your ultimate 11 for Kaizer Chiefs.
So ultimate 11 goalkeeper, I'll give it to Akpe. I still personally think he still has it. I'll give my two center backs is Ngobo and Matoho. I explain why Matoho is there. Kadoso must go. Kadoso must just watch from the sidelines. Right back, I'll give it to Reef Floster. Bloom has been doing a good job, but I think I'll give Reef Floster the right back. Left back, I'll give it to Mabaliso. And then, so I don't understand the pairing for the pairing Yaga Cole Alexandra and Nange. I kind of
are they too similar for you?
Yeah, I kind of feel that they're similar. So I'll put in the young Ngobo there with one of the guys, one as a CDM, and then my two wingers. I'd have Upila as the top striker. Nokovic can go relax for now, and then I'll have Dolly on the right and Sukhot on the left.
Hectic. So no Nokovic in your starting 11.
Nah, no Nokovic is my starting. I think the type of play that we are playing now, because he's more on the side now. He's not central anymore. So he doesn't give us any options.
Interesting. Okay, Siya Kumalo, thank you so much for joining us. From a Kaizer Chiefs fan, let's hear what the
Thanks for having me, guys.
Sundowns fans Pleasure, brother. Are saying in the comments. They've been very vocal. Let's see. Let me find a Sandawana here. The Yellow Nation is going for all 3 titles this season. I mean, we're 1 leg away from MTN final, and we have the legs for the league season, so they need to ride along with the champions, says Lulama Kalipa. And let's see. This is on Somila saying Vuma must improve his kicking skills as well. He turned over the ball a lot, inviting pressure. Let's see. Yeah, I know Cardozo and Matoho didn't work last year. What makes them feel it would work this year? We touched on that a little. And Tsepo Malusi says, I will say it again. Sundowns are yet to come off the blocks. They've had a proper preseason for the first time in a while. I think they're pacing themselves. They will get better. Yeah, that's what, Sundowns fans think. Just on the way to winning the league. We'll get rid of it, Chiefs. We'll get rid of others on the way as we get stronger and stronger. And I guess what's also quite heartening for the team, Greg, is that, the guys that have come in, you have Kekana now, who with some game time is showing his value. Isn't this the worry that Chiefs fans will have, is that, you take so long to bet in the players and you actually might not even have an opportunity then for them to make mistakes early on. This is something that's been touched on throughout our conversation. Make mistakes early on, self-correct when it's still early, and then be critical and important at the later stages of the season.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier, because you have defender of the season apart from the MTN8, apart from the Carling tournament, and we on the third game of the season. I think by now, defender of the season should be playing. As you touched earlier on, when you buy a player or buy a center back from Europe, I mean, after 2-3 games, you need to get in. Because you cannot just buy a player and put him on the bench, which is the best player of the season, of the past season, and you put him on the bench. I think he deserves a chance, as everyone. You better see what he got now, early stage, and to correct it than, to put him later on. I think, for now, he suited in the back three, because sometimes Kaizer Chiefs play the back three, and he can be the ball player, and as Kevin said earlier on, he can play the ball with the transition system Kaizer Chiefs need to are playing. He can be the one bringing the ball out from the back. So I think he's very confident. He's a good player. I think for me, with the situation with the centre back at this moment, I think he deserves a chance to play.
I mean, Tim, lastly on this one before we move on, some of the fans have a bit of, I guess, what you'd call buyer's remorse in the coach. They think that maybe Atazwane should have carried on and, would have done a better job, had an understanding of the players and, was closer to them, having obviously spent more time with them. Do you think that's early sensationalism? Do you think people are panicking when they shouldn't be, and that Baxter was always going to be light years ahead as far as a improvement is on Shepi and Zwane?
They need to forget about the armchair coaches. they were always
Who are the amateur coaches?
They should forget about armchair coaches.
Oh, armchair. Oh, my bad. Armchair. Got it.
So what's going to happen is the fans will always come up with their lineups and opinions. That's going to inform, the opinion of fans whenever the results are not forthcoming. And when they win, they will clap. So there has to be focus. If you go into detail of the game, you could realize that Kaizer Chiefs had more forward entries actually and more chances. Chances just didn't go in. That's why we are talking about something that is different at this moment in time. So they had some good chances, well-created chances. Onyango did make some good saves that made the game look different. So going forward, they are not looking so bad. We have had a discussion whether they should play which defender and everything like that. For me, I'm interested in how Kaizer Chiefs played on the day, given the players that were put on the field of play. So for me, I'm looking at what can be improved in those areas. I strongly believe that we have got the likes of Cardoso and Matoho, almost similar players. So and they are trying to get Cardoso to try to be the calmer player to try and play from the back. So if you have got the likes of Ngobas you are discussing, I think that would be a better pairing going forward. So he may have some butterflies, on starting out, but once he gets that confidence and accepted by his fellow teammates, I think it will be a great pairing going forward. And then you'll have the likes of, Matoho and Kodoso alternating amongst themselves because the season is very long. But going forward, I truly believe that Kaizer Chiefs has got a better squad. We are talking about why can they play the young players and everything like that. The reason why Coach Gavin Hunt lost the job was because he was playing young players and they couldn't get the results. Baxter knows very well that he has got a job, he has got to deliver. So for me, losing to Sundowns is not a train smash. Why? Because they are the champions, they're the defending champions. But you gauge yourself how far you have come to compete with the likes of Sundowns if you're going to compete for the championship. I think they are not very far. As the season goes on and Sundowns is going to be competing on all fronts, I think Kaizer Chiefs, the likes of Kaizer Chiefs Pirates will get stronger and they will give Sundowns a run for their money.
Oksalayo Tim Victor Makhaela says, Atazwane, please. Let's see. Maybe, sometimes be careful what you wish for in these scenarios.
Zwane is learning from the base. He's
been learning. Give him a chance, guys.
He must go have a chance somewhere else, is what people seem to be saying.
We have been there. We have been there when people clamor for somebody to be given a chance. We have been there. And I can guarantee you that when that job was advertised, I don't think Arthur Zwane did apply. He did not apply. So he was a little bit confident that he can learn under the tutelage of the likes of Baxter. So for me, I'm against the calling. Why is Craig not being given the job? Why Arthur Zwane is not being given the job? The question is, did he apply for the job? If the answer is no, then he should wait.
And if there was no application?
Then you don't call for anybody to go there, because if your name was not raised, then there has to be names on the table, and from those names we make the selection.
So you must go take it up with the chairman, is what Timothy Bayer is saying.
His representative must tell us exactly if he did apply for the job.
Okay. Others one is representative. If you're watching, drop a comment on YouTube. Let us know. Did he apply? Did he have a whole presentation with slides and an idea and a philosophy? Okay, well, congratulations to Mamelodi Sundowns, Peter Shalulile and Grant Kekana getting on the score sheet there to make it 3 points. And one of the best performances I've seen from Dennis Onyango coming in and just, showing his class in that game. Let's keep it moving to a game that was the original Soweto derby between Morocco Swallows and Orlando Pirates. It was also the 400th appearance for Happy Jelle for the club. He got commended for that. And, I think it also probably comes at a nice time as far as his career is concerned, because now he seems to be enjoying the trust of the co-caretaker coaches that are currently at the club. They seem to see his value. Here's a player who obviously, as far as we're all concerned, is a one club man, and a good occasion for him to get on, to the field and walk away with 3 points as part of that team, Kelvin. And I mean, also there were some amazing performances from Mtsago Makubela. I mean, he looked like he had been playing in that side for a minute. He just seemed so comfortable and grew into the game in the end. What did you make of the original Soweto derby and Pirates winning it 1-0?
Yeah, a very good game to watch. More technical also, with the introduction of players being thrown into the pool, which they didn't disappoint. Pirates looks like a team that really wanted it more. Swallows also still finding their feet within the game, while Pirates at the same time showed intentions of wanting to win this game by all costs. Happy for Mabasa coming in and scoring, which has been a drought for Orlando Pirates, for strikers not getting a goal. With an absence of Lodge also not making the situation to be easy, but it's good to see strikers coming up and raising their hands and making sure that they pull in the result. Also commendable for Happy Jelle for his 400 cap. I think that gave him a motivation. He wanted it to be something memorable and something that will be remembered to marshal a team. What a way to celebrate your 400th cap with a win, which is something that Pirates really need. It's up to them at this point to make sure that they continue with the same energy. They should understand how they won the game. What were the contributing factors that got them the 3 points? Even though it's a small margin, but at the championship score 1-0. It means from the defensive organization to the midfielder to the strikers, everybody was putting up a shift. If they didn't concede a goal, it's commendable for defenders. If midfielders created for Mabasa to score, it's commendable. If Mabasa got an opportunity, even if it's 20 and then he scored one, that gave Pirates the 3 points. So it's happy to see. And also, again, just to touch on the Golden Arrows player, and the one that was signed, a very good, exciting player that can connect and give that excitement. He reminds me more of the Lebohang Mokoena, still on his prime, who would try and find pockets, move into spaces, want the ball, confidence on the ball, force defenders to make fouls, commit, get players being out of position. This is something Pirates has been missing in the middle. I know with the excitement of Makaring, I think the tactical discipline between the two players that were fielded on a day, it made much of a difference with Ntswalo coming in, because he was a more player that looks to play forward football. This is when you identify a player that is being well coached, not trying to undermine some of the players, but he knew exactly in position where he needs to possess the ball and get the result.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, that is a very important one. And I wonder what it does as far as the decision is concerned for Orlando Pirates. Greg, I mean, do you kind of just let this go on with the caretaker coaches looking after this team, especially now that they're up and running in what was a slow start to the season?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they have gotten their chance. I think, if I'm not mistaken, their first game was 0-0. Yeah, and now they won the league game. I think, Pirates always a top team. They're going to this game. They lost against Swallows FC in terms of the NTN 8, which I think, that we have it in the back of their mind that, we're not going to lose against them in the league. And, you can see a different Pirates with determination, coming to this game. They have their game plan well, planned in terms of every department. And, I just need to take my hat off for Imponchani. I think, coming in from, for a very long time, I think he hasn't played, and for this season, I think it's his first game. And he did very well as a goalkeeper. He was confident. He was, there's a big save he did towards the end of the game, which it could have been, we always know Pirates, we always know Swallows coming towards the 9 minutes and snatch a win or get a equalizing goal. But Ponchani did a very big save there, which I'm so proud of him. Generally, Pirates was a different team on that day, and they deserve that win, but they need to take it forward now. And I think with the co-coaches, they have something to work on now.
Okay, no, there we go. I guess, for Morocco Swallows, they can chalk it up to a bad day at the office, Tim. Did you see anything from them that kind of shows you what they're going to be doing this season? I mean, going on last season and what they achieved, what did you expect the Swallows team to be able to do against Pirates? Or do you think, considering the personnel and considering the investment on either side, that this was one for Orlando Pirates to kind of lay down a marker and get a victory in? Or do you think maybe just Morocco Swallows on the day weren't a good enough opponent?
For me, I was impressed with the consistency of this Swallows team. They were very consistent. They have got an identity and style of play that they never changed. And they took the game to Pirates. You have got the likes of Nyantama, Gramadine, they were crafting and they really wanted it. You have got Kwena, trying to, to play. You have got Vuyo Mary trying to push. For me, it's one team that has maintained their identity, irrespective whether they are chasing the game or not. They play, there's that interchanging of the ball. They try to keep it on the ground. yes, last season they overachieved, but the way they are playing, they will still perform better. You know, against Pirates, yeah, there was that element of speed at you know, at that moment of conceding, you know, of Swallows conceding, and it was a well wiped in cross and a beautiful header. That you it's very if you don't prevent that cross in, it's made like it was made. It was a beautiful goal to watch. But I think it lived to the title, you know, the original original derby. It was a very good game. But this Morocco Swallows team will ask so many teams questions going forward in this season.
Well, it will be interesting to see if those teams have the answers. But I guess also what is a scary prospect, Calvin, is just how, you know, once they get all the bodies back and get that cohesion, Pirates could be quite the proposition this season. I mean, Mabasa comes back, you know, from injury. You still got the likes of Lepasa, who still, you know, has a look in once he's fully fit. So the strikers are there. It's just that they've not been fit enough to be options. So I guess, do you think that if everyone's fit, Calvin, Pirates are title contenders?
True. Yes, I think with the win that they recorded, it's a confidence booster, and it's for players now to really understand that they are a big team, they can compete, and teams are always one down when they're playing against Pirates because there's too much respect when it comes to these games. As much as this was a derby, but Orlando Pirates at the end of the day had better personality on the field and also had real hunger to win the game because they've been going through a very rough patch. So for them, they're a team to compete. Yes, they've boosted some position now and again, and also just surprisingly to see Shandu playing as a right back. For me, that was one of the highlights that I felt that yes, as a good playing, a ball playing player, good pass off the ball. So what are they looking for? They're trying maybe to establish that relationship to engage because both teams apply themselves in a 4-3-3. So meaning at the end of the day, what's going to win you the game is the team that is highly tactical and the team that is highly technical. So in that sense, you get a team that will want to move the ball around more to see the openings because these formations cancel out each other when it comes to the defensive organization, and it allows another team to find spaces to play. So it's either you continue with a high press or you drop, which is with Swallows, as Tim has mentioned. They have that identity of knowing that this team can play. So this is our starting position on how we're going to press. We're not going to press too high up because they know the personality of Jele, who's one that is more cool-headed in starting the ball at the back. You have your Marco and your Shandu who can play and pass the ball because they are these are players that were first selected as wingers on their team. With Marco and Marco playing for Chipa, who was playing more of an offensive, which was a left winger. With the Shandu that was playing more right wing for Marispec United. So these are the players that know the principles of defending, even though they might not be good technically when they have to defend, but playing out from the back, it gives them speed and advantage. So it is a team for sure that we can compete on Pirates.
And I guess, Tim, you know, it's just a circumstantial situation where Nyawuza got the red card and he's out the team, but you know, can people take heart from that partnership that they saw at the weekend with Tyson and Jele being, you know, resolute? I guess in the end, clean sheet is also to their credit, alongside Mponchane. Do you think that then has kind of not cemented, nothing is cemented and permanent, but made a great case, I guess, for this to continue as is?
Look, you always fancy your chances once given a chance. And then you put in a shift that is commendable. It gives you another opportunity. You know, when Nyauza gets a red card, those are 2 games. And you come in, you play, you know, according to expectations, or you go beyond expectations. You raise up your hand to be considered. And when Nyauza comes back, they will have some debates some questions to answer. But over and above, I think they have assembled a very good team. Secondly, I was very impressed with the calmness with Tyson and Happy Jerry. There was that, there was that calmness of them playing together. And for a long time, I saw the Pirates players, more especially in the back, accommodating Tyson and letting him be to get the best out of him. And so that was resolute. If they continue with that, they're going to have a very solid backline where Tyson is going to come out as the cleaner, as the fighter for the team, and then Happy Jerry cleans up those loose balls, and you have the likes of Nyausa and going up. I think that would be resolute. Yes, Coach Davis intimated that it's a team in progress. We have had that before. They're trying to buy time for the team to come down and be competitive.
To gel, yeah.
If you're a coach of Pirates, there's no buying time. You are competing. There's no question about it. If you're Pirates, Chiefs, Sundowns, we expect the trophy from you. There's no building that time. With the players you buy, they are not for building. They are for winning the championship. That should be communicated to the players. They should know. There is no building for such clubs. That's why they go and buy the try and test it. When we get you, if you
and
are
the defenders of the season, right?
Listen, if you're 15 years, if you're 15 years old and you join Chiefs, Sundowns, we know you are ripe to deliver at that moment in time.
Okay, well, I want to get it out of all of you. The back pairing for Orlando Pirates, how you'd like to see them for the rest of the season. And then as far as the tip of the spear is concerned, because Somila Landu makes a good point, Pirates must go back to a target number 9 if they want success. Past Pirates teams won this way, Bakela, McCarthy, Gabuza. Pirates have always had a focal point. So who can be their focal point this season? Kwame Pepra, of course, has been signed, but there's a lot of players that are already there. Like we mentioned, the likes of Mabaso, you've got La Pasa, you've obviously got Mango. Who is the tip of the spear for Pirates, and who are the 2 center backs at the back? Let's start with you, Calvin.
Well, for me, I'm still not yet that convinced with the pairing. With maybe Jele's legs might be wearing off. So the Nyausa and the Tyson, similar players, so I wouldn't stick to that. But if Happy Jele could stay consistent or they manage him well, I think I'll still stay with this formation at this point, but not have Nyausa there. Because Jele is the more calmer one. Let Tyson go pick from man to man and let Jele sweep from the back. So what the position that they've started with at the back with the Marco and Shandu, not so much confidence on the Shandu in terms of the defensive ability, but the playing ability, I trust him 100%. So the 1-on-1, the 1v1s on the side, is he able to win them? Not much. Also, Marco, also in his 1v1, is a player that is a little bit challenged, but he gives Pirates more. That's why Pirates will always have numerical superiority in the middle, because of his attack and always opening high up the field. Coming up to the strikers, I feel in a sense that even Pule, Voto, and Lamini, they are ball players, not more of a central players that's a point of reference who will play off them. They need a striker to play off them so they can activate and have that speed going into the box. So with Pepra Kwame coming in, he could assist them in that, because he's got a mentality of being a striker and staying in the box, being allowed to be bullied, so that the Pules, the Hotos can profit from the loose balls. Knowing very well that with the Lodge also, he always played well when he's on the outer position. Mango, more of a player that goes into half space to fetch the ball. So it'd be ideal if you play within the 2, then if Mango will go and fetch, let Pepra stay, so then he can be the workhorse. And then Pepra will be the one that will be holding the ball. Then we get crosses in the box.
Okay, there we go. Greg, your center back pairing, and who is the tip of the spear for you?
Yeah, apart from injury-free, everyone is injury-free. I think the pairing there always going to be Apijele and Tyson. But don't forget about the new center back they signed from Nigeria. I think, first of all, you need to get used to the culture, get used to how the pace of the league is. I think he's going to be one of a good center back, to pair with either Apijele or Tyson. But for now, you go with Apijele and Tyson. And up front, it's straightforward. Mabasa, is it Mabasa, yeah?
Mabaso,
yeah, I think for me, apart from his injury, if he's injury-free, I think he should be starting every game because his presence is, and if you check his stats, out of 2 games, he always score 1 goal. So I think it's a good start for him. So I just feel like, if he's injury free, I think he should be starting every game.
Okay, interesting take on that one. Tim, I'll come to you now. I'm just going to throw a spanner in the works to consider that there's young Thabiso Sasani as well, who won the man of the match when he played for Pirates. He's available mostly for their MDC team. So you have that youngster. You got the experience in Tyson and Jelle, and you got the new man who's also in the mix. So much food for thought for the coaches. But your take on that centre-back pairing and who leads the line up front for Pirates?
I think the pairing of Jerry and Tyson is the best suited one for now. I don't believe in the notion that the legs are gone. In that position, actually, they get better with age. Akama, you start playing more intelligently than we're using more of the physical ability. In those positions, you're using more of the intelligence to come and get into those positions and get the team to play. So for me, what will be very crucial is the shield that the central midfielder they're gonna put in there, but they have shown that they are willing to play. With the pairing going forward, I can tell you that Pirates has got one of the best strikers in Mango. They just need to have the psychological management of the player. He's a kind of player where he needs the technical team and the rest of his teammates to believe that he's good, because in his mind, he knows he's good. And he believes that the rest of the team doesn't believe that he's good the way he believes that he's good. So he has given...
the other strikers, what was they do? I mean, they gave him a chance.
Which one?
The other strikers, too, they have to, the technical team have to believe in them too. So if you have a chance,
but this is what I'm saying.
Manga
No, what I'm saying to you is Manga has proven that he's a goal scorer. There's no question about that. What people can give to Pirates is there to see. He has proven it. What has happened with Mango is that he had a fallout with the technical team, the previous coach, and that's what I'm talking about. And I have the feeling that if Coach David and Blanzu can come on board and get the best out of him, they have got one of the best strikers in the country. That one I can say. And then if you get the likes of Otto, you are assured of that supply that is coming in. So with the likes of Pli and those ones can come, they have got quite a very good team. They have got quite a good individual layup of players on the field of play. I would love to see them converted into a team to play as one unit. If they get them to play as a team, they are one of the first quick team that can cause havoc in the PSL.
There we go. Thank you very much for that summation, gents. Let's then turn our attention to the other results, just to give you a bit of a roundup what happened in the league. Galaxy and Golden Arrows playing out to a 2-2 draw. Skukune and Stelli's doing the same. Royal AM got up and running, a 1-0 victory against Chipa United. And then Maritzburg United went on the road, having recently, announced their partnership with Gift of the Givers. It was instead Baroka who gifted them 3 points. So that's how that one panned out. Let's then focus very quickly before we run out of time on what's been happening as far as the rest of Africa adventures are concerned. Marumo Gallants and both them and AmaZulu not being able to get positive results. It's always going to be tough away from home. But yeah, Greg, I don't know, man. Did you speak to Washington? Do you know what happened? Can you explain the saga?
No, I really don't know what's happening in that camp. But for them to travel with 12 players, which they knew right from last season that they're gonna be playing the international tournament. I think they could have been well prepared, in terms of players and in terms of personnel generally. So that shows that there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes in terms of that team. But nevertheless, they see they have a goal to hang on, because you know, they lost 2-1, and if they can come back home and just they have to score one and get hope for a clean sheet, I think that will be the best for them, you know. But they can do that. They can do that, you know. They can do that in terms of the players they have, and in terms of the new technical team. So for me, I think they still have a big chance, because that's away goal rules we favor them. So it's left for them now to come back home and try to get a goal, and probably to get a clean sheet. I think they will go through to the next stage.
I guess. I mean, the hard lifting and the heavy work will have to happen here at home, Calvin. But you know, just it's a bit comical. But you know, at the same time, there's a bit of a national pride that's out there. You know, for a team of ours to go out there, be so ill prepared, especially with a coach that they brought, I think, in like specifically for this reason, and then you know, out the gates, we don't even have a proper squad for our games. What does this mean for their adventure? For me, it feels like it might end a bit soon.
Yeah. I think the coach and the management, they are the ones to be blamed in this situation. Players, they've got no control over this because they don't select themselves. Yes, you might train to raise your hand that you want to be part of the squad. But if management don't do their part, don't expect us to do anything. It might end soon, yes, true, based on the internal affairs and things that are happening in the board. In terms of display, it could have been worse than the score that they got, but at least those players put up a fight. So I think the better planning and also the preparations needs to come handy, and the coach should know far better in coming into this stage and understand this tournament at this magnitude. If the Sundowns and the Chiefs and the Pirates have tested it, they should learn from that. It's not something that is foreign to us. There are some teams within the country that have participated in this tournament, and they do know that you need the personalities and the numbers. Hence, your Sundowns and other teams will make sure that they sign a big chunk of squad because they want to go further on this tournament. So to see a team in the PSL, in the Elite League, to go with 12 players, it's a kind of embarrassing, and it didn't give a good picture on our league to show us how prepared we are for international stage. So African tournaments that are being hosted, it's for us as a team to market yourself. Now you give yourself a bad marketing that you don't have your house in order. So I think that should be changed, and a better job should be done by management.
Thank goodness the rights are all up in the air and we can't see these games all willy-nilly. Otherwise, we would have been on national TV or international TV being embarrassed with such a poor planning episode.
There's no embarrassment, actually.
In going with 12 men?
This is the experience they are getting in the African continent, because on the comfort of the PSL, so much is on the silver platter. So now they are out on the African continent to test what it takes to be a champion. The reason why Sundowns is dominant on the African continent or in the PSL is simply because they have tested those challenges. But because of the deep pockets of Patrice Motsepe, they have not been able to sleep on the airports. They have had the likes of luxurious travel. And when they are en route to games, they have the comfort of those nice hotels. We are talking about 12 players. It's not new. That's not news on the African continent. Many teams have experienced the same.
No, team. No. You qualified for the tournament. You qualified for this tournament last season, not this season, and you have 1 month plus to prepare for you to get the players to be registered.
The problem was not to qualify. The problem is to understand the logistics required to participate in the CAF Champions League games.
Once you qualify, you need to know what you need to get to that stage. So why did you qualify in the first stage?
This is what I'm saying. First and foremost, it's an indictment on the PSL. They should come up with a funding, an understanding, and indoctrination to these clubs that have qualified for the Champions League for the first time, to explain them to understand what it entails. Now, we have a club that has got players not yet registered. Maybe they have not even contracts. We are not sure about that. They don't know which players they're going to use on the African continent. So they are finding themselves in a dilemma where they cannot raise a team of players registered for CAF. They may be registered for PSL, but not CAF. So how do you get, as a PSL, as a brand, not to allow yourself to be embarrassed to the level we are speaking, 12 players traveling? Even my former club in Uganda never reached those levels. And then we're an amateur league then. How, in the 21st century, the PSL, one of the well-marketed leagues on the African continent, can we have a club representing South Africa on the African continent with 12 players? It should not be happening.
I agree. And you're right. There should be some sort of onboarding for those clubs that are going to participate in these competitions to know, hey guys, this is how these things work. I wonder if actually there was any kind of outreach from the league to say, gallants, here are some pro tips for you guys to navigate what is about to be some treacherous terrain. It didn't happen in the end, but let's hope they'll have a bigger squad. Now, speaking of handing things on a silver platter, Penny McCarthy didn't get a striker on a silver platter. Apparently, he wanted one of those from management, but also not a good start for them. You know, the thing is, when things don't start going well for Mr. McCarthy, he starts being vocal about it. So, Tim, are the wheels falling off?
Not really. He's mandated to create the strikers.
Yes.
He is the coach.
Yeah, he wants one from somewhere to come in. Then him and Bele will work with that guy.
Listen,
He is a striker. He must create one.
What do you mean
even
create
that.
one?
Not even that. He didn't get where he is without a striker. He had the striker scoring the goals that made him second on the log. So it's more than that. He creates. When you have got your wife, your girlfriend, you don't go out looking for another one. You deal with the one you have got. That's your best.
No,
So
but I mean,
the strikers
saying he
that
wants
Coach
a
Marcus-
striker suited for the continent. You've seen it with other teams when they're about to go on a big African adventure. They get a battle-tested, continental competition-tested striker most times. Most times. Doesn't always. You don't always get what you want, but surely that also helps.
Kebza, it's not true. He knew and he told us that he's going to compete. So there is
The league.
you cannot find what you want.
Oh, they the CAF, you will compete. That's the message from me.
Yeah, but maybe he was still expecting the striker, guys. Can he do it without?
He's got
you
strikers.
I don't know. He wanted one that was
One thing is different
comfortable
thing. He's got strikers
Africa.
in-house.
Yes, but he's saying he wants one with CAF experience.
No. There's no shop that sells experience in football.
No,
It
but
will-
you have players who've been there, Tim. You know what he
No,
means.
no,
You know he wants
but
players that have
they
played at that level.
They won't come and fit in as a club. That's for sure.
Just a striker. It's just one striker. He wants one
No,
player. He
no.
doesn't want a whole squad overhaul. It's
Assuming you're a
easier to
striker-
integrate one player, surely, no?
Assuming you're Majoro and you're hearing your coach saying he needs a striker. You are hearing your coach saying he needs a striker, and yet you are there. The question, the game was played and he fielded a striker. Did those strikers deliver? No. What do you do for them to deliver? You cannot clamor for what is not there. And he knows it. So at this moment in time, he's trying to shake the powers that be and listen and say, listen, don't come running to me or saying you're not getting results. Remain a bit because I didn't get what I wanted. So that's a cushion. It's a protection for himself. But he knows that he has got the strikers. He needs to coach those strikers to deliver. I'm not a believer in coaches coming and saying, no, I didn't get this player, that's why I'm not performing. You have to use what you have got at that moment in time and make those players deliver because that's what you have got.
I guess you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, he has to work with what he has. But Greg, he said that that performance? Some of the players lack desire. Is it just a coach saying, listen, I need to create competition and depth, and maybe, some people might just be, kicked into gear?
For me, I mean, first of all, when Benny came in last season, he did very well. He knows quite well that if you come second in the league, you're definitely going to play the CAF Champions League, which, I mean, they were lucky enough to be in now. And yeah, as the guys are saying, you have strikers. You have Ntuli, you have Mojuro, you have Shaka Zulu. I think there's three strikers there that can, easily give you what you want. But go back to AmaZulu, in the league.
Are they champions? Are they Champions League strikers, Greg? Are they CAF Champions League strikers in your mind?
For me, for them to come second in terms of the league, I think, for me, Ntuli is a CAF Champions League striker. Mojuro is a CAF Champions League striker. Shaka Zulu is a CAF Champions League striker. For me, that's my personal opinion. These are season strikers in the PS, and PS is one of the best leagues in terms of, when you're playing against a team in Malawi or in Zimbabwe. But going back for AmaZulu, they didn't start the league very well with the NTN 8, and now they're sitting 15 on the log. They only score one goal. They only concede one goal. They haven't scored goal in the past 2 games. And playing against Big Bullets. I think Big Bullets, we need to give them respect coming from Malawi. I mean, this is a team that played 26 games. They have scored 44 goals. They have only conceded 14 goals, and they are 55 points and number 1 in the log in terms of the 16-man team in Malawi. So we need to give them credit, and they have been consistent in terms of the games they have been playing. So for them to come and get a win in South Africa, it's not a new thing. It's now for Benny to sit back and see what went wrong in that game and go to Malawi and get a goal, because right now AmaZulu need a goal as an urgent, because they haven't scored a goal for the last 2 games, which is unknown for, because you have 2 strikers there, which are the coaches there. You have Benny McCarthy, you have Nombeti. As the guys are saying there, they should be, spending their energy teaching the guys how to score, because that's one thing they lack at this moment. So for me, I think AmaZulu going to Malawi, they need to up their game. They need to plan very well, and they must stop. I think a lot of noise have been made in terms of before the game was played. A lot of noise have been made in terms of how Malawi league is and how they are going to win that game. So I think sometimes it might be motivation to the other team, which, I mean, they came and get a good victory in Durban there.
Yeah, no, there we go. Big ups to the Malawian team for traveling and getting a big result on the road. Will Benny McCarthy be able to turn it around? Remember, he turned down the opportunity to sign Justin Shonga, saying that he needed someone to come in and hit the ground running, which I guess then would then say that any other striker coming in would have fallen under that same argument. So why did he want a striker if one that's, had experience in the local league and could have been fit by now was turned down? So you're right, maybe Tim, he's buying himself some time and to be able to say, hey, but I did ask for a striker, at which point management will say, well, you let Shonga walk out the door. So I guess the time will come for Benny McCarthy to prove himself on this stage in particular. That away leg is going to be very crucial, and I think will kind of, set the tone for the rest of his AmaZulu stay for the rest of the season anyway. So let's see how they navigate that one. And of course, Gallants, they have a goal to their name, so things could still be in their favor once they get their house in order, which they didn't when they traveled with 12 players. Gents, thank you so much for your time, man. Really appreciate hanging out with you this evening. Kelvin Sosibo, Greg Atafia, Timothy Batabayer. I hope you guys have enjoyed the discussion. Those of you watching us on YouTube Live, thank you so much for joining us on a Monday. And those who catch this turned around, I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. Gents, thank you. Have a great week. And we'll do this again in a week's time.
Thanks.
There we go.
Bye.
Good night to everybody who's been tuned in. Big ups to Fidel behind the scenes, pushing all the buttons. Thanks for those who zoomed in. Remember to subscribe and remember to catch us on our socials at Front Sports. For myself,